Thought we were done with this. What is up, everybody, and welcome to my review of the latest video game adaptation and latest film by director Eli Roth, Borderlands. Now, I am somebody that has played the Borderlands games. I've played 1, 2, and 3. I've only completed the first game. Can't say that I'm a huge fan of the franchise. There's fun to be had there. I get the appeal of it. It's never really been a franchise that drew me in, and at least from my perspective, it always seemed to be a franchise that was much more appealing for just like the shooter mechanics, for all the multitudes of different guns, all the crazy things that you can do when you're looting and finding things. Some interesting lore and characters for sure, and the cel-shaded kind of visual they go for is fun and interesting, but never really been a franchise that at least drew me in with its characters and story. So before I had heard anything else about this film, just the idea of doing a Borderlands film never completely made sense to me. So far, the best video game adaptations that we have had have been the ones that are adapting video games with a very rich story and very deep characters, something that is at least a little easier and more sensical to translate to a visual medium. Where so many other adaptations are trying to squeeze something out of a video game series that is known more for its gameplay, something that you really can't translate too much to the visual medium. And this one felt like it was heading down that road. I just could not envision what a Borderlands video game was going to look like beyond just capturing the look of the games. And unfortunately, the more that you heard about this movie's production, the more grim things looked. Now, this was actually a script that was written by Craig Mazin, who is one of the people most responsible for the Last of Us television series, which for me, by a country mile, is the greatest video game adaptation that we have ever gotten. And the more that people started to get involved with the film, as Eli Roth came in as a director and they had rewrites and different people come in and mess with the script, Craig Mazin actually requested to have his name taken off of the movie. Never a good sign. They shot this thing back in 2021, and it just sat around for a couple of years. Then last year, they mandated some significant reshoots. Eli Roth wasn't even available to do it, or possibly didn't even give a fuck about doing it. I really don't know. It was kind of a bit unclear in some of the articles I was reading, but nonetheless, he was doing Thanksgiving. He let them do their thing with Borderlands, and so they brought Tim Miller in, who is the guy that directed the first Deadpool movie and Terminator Dark Fate, to come in and do some additional photography for the film. And now this year, we have the release of whatever Frankenstein it was between what they shot 3 years ago and what they shot last year. And from the trailers being released to some of the early reactions to the initial critic scores, I mean, this thing just seemed like it was doomed as a project could be. So it's really not going to surprise anybody that I didn't enjoy this film. But is it really as bad as people are making it out to be? Not in my opinion. But really quick before we dive into the good, bad, and ugly of Borderlands, if this movie is in fact ruining your childhood and you need somebody to come in and give you some of that nostalgic joy back, check out the sponsor of today's video, Magic Spoon. When I was growing up, a delicious bowl of cereal was practically a requirement to start my day. But as an adult, I try to watch my sugar intake as well as the amount of carbs that I eat. And let me tell you, it is a dark, sad day when you realize that your childhood favorites no longer fit your lifestyle. But with Magic Spoon, I can enjoy all of my childhood favorites once again. Magic Spoon is a wholesome, high-protein cereal that has 0 sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 grams net carbs per serving. It comes in a wide variety of your favorite flavors such as cocoa, peanut butter, and fruity, and even a few wilder flavors like cinnamon roll, maple waffle, and birthday cake. You can even be bold like me and mix some of your favorites together for a chocolate peanut butter delight. All that plus a Saturday morning cartoon-inspired design, and I'm transported back to the 90s with every bowl. And if you want that delicious nostalgia on the go, they also have Magic Spoon treats that have 1 gram of sugar, 11 to 12 grams of protein, and only 1 to 2 grams of net carbs per serving. So if you're ready to once again enjoy your childhood favorites without all that extra guilt, click the link below to get some Magic Spoon cereal today. You can build your very own custom box with all the flavors you love and use my code CLEACH for $5 off. You could choose from any of the flavors I've already shown, plus some other favorites like frosted, honey nut, blueberry muffin, and even chocolate chip cookie. You can also add any of their delicious cereal treats to your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident that you'll enjoy their product that it's backed by a 100% happiness guarantee. So if for whatever reason you don't enjoy Magic Spoon, they'll give you a refund with no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on screen and use the code CLeach for $5 off. Or go to magicspoon.com/cleach to save $5 off of your order today. And for my Canadian and British fans, Magic Spoon also ships to Canada and the UK. And thank you so much to Magic Spoon for sponsoring today's video. So starting off with the positives, the one thing that I will give them kudos for is that, at least for me, as somebody that I would barely even call myself a casual fan of Borderlands, I think they did a pretty decent job at capturing the look of that world. I think the look of Pandora, the costume design, the look of the characters, the vehicles, somewhat with the guns. Visually, it did look like the games from what I remember, and so that is something that is definitely hard to do with a game that's so zany like Borderlands, because you have to have a really interesting costume design plus production design. You have to make this post-apocalyptic world, you gotta craft these vehicles together, and that's the side of the production that I felt was pretty impressive. You know, we'll talk about some of the effects. This is a movie that strangely feels very expensive and very cheap simultaneously. The one person in the cast that stood out to me is Ariana Greenblatt, who played Tiny Tina. She's the only person in this entire cast that looked like she was really having a good time with her character and was really leaning into kind of the tone of the world and trying to do something to stand out. Everybody else is not terrible, but pretty much everybody else is like okay at best. Like, even actors that you know can deliver really interesting characters, really great performances, or stand out at least, they're all just kind of flatlined here. But Tiny Tina, she was a standout.
Time to make it rain with your body parts.
Some of the action's okay. You got some gunfights, you got some vehicle chases, you have big gigantic monsters that are in this world, you know. It's action sequences that I feel like would be entertaining for kids. And that's not necessarily always a bad thing. You know, this is not something that's going to impress you if you're really into action movies and you watch a lot of movies throughout the year. It's nowhere near the conversation of some of the most competent action of the year, but it's entertaining enough. And actually, as far as the side characters, I really liked what Gina Gershon was doing as Moxie. She's not in the movie a lot. It's really like 2 scenes, but she really looked the character for 1. I'm a big Gina Gershon fan for 2, and 3, I think she is one of the characters that stands out a little bit more. You know, she's this bar owner, kind of a madam in a certain way, and so just the aesthetic of that character and the 2 scenes that she was in, it looked like she was having fun too. And that's about it for me. This is not a good film. I will not argue that whatsoever. This is not a good movie, but I genuinely don't feel like it's any more offensive than most of the video game adaptations that we have had. And we've had a lot of bad, mediocre, forgettable ones, but you know, this is one of those films that feels like, because of the production history, because of the initial Rotten Tomatoes score, and a lot of the initial coverage of the film, like really making everything sound grim for justifiable reasons, this is a movie that's going to get dogpiled and to an extreme that I don't really feel like is merited. You know, this is not a Madam Web. This is not a film where you walk into it and you're just like blown away at how a movie with hundreds of millions of dollars turned out like this. This is just a movie that is passable on its best day, immediately forgettable on its worst. This is a movie where pretty much everything that they try to do, they're not very successful with. The times they try to be funny, you don't really laugh. The times that they try to impress you with the action, they do a decent job in a few scenes. Everything else is kind of just stuff you've seen before, even decades ago. The characters are okay individually, but as a group, they have no chemistry. There is no magic here. And for a movie that's definitely trying to tap into that Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, the main thing that makes movies like that work is the group dynamic, the magic of the cast, and there's just none here. And they're all capable actors. They're all people we've seen do really good things outside of this movie. I mean, you got Cate Blanchett as the lead, for Christ's sake. Kevin Hart's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's always at least funny and entertaining. He's not comedic whatsoever in this movie.
Put the window up.
I don't want to. Roll the window up.
Roll it up. It's Pete.
And then you got Jamie Lee Curtis, a Hollywood icon, who is just there. I don't know if they cut a lot of her best shit. I don't know if this is something she just did as a favor to somebody, but it looked like she couldn't have given a fuck about this movie, because her character does nothing, and she brings nothing to the screen. Effects-wise, I think, like I said, production design is fairly impressive. All of the CGI and all of the digital production that's in this film, You know, it's a movie that cost, I think, $70-80 million, so it's not, like, offensive on the level of something like Fast 9 or, like, Madam Web. But there's times things look okay. There's times that things look bad. And so, like I said, I think really the only people that are going to watch this that are going to even be able to appreciate the little that they're able to do to entertain you here is kids. And the one thing that was something that I expected even back when they greenlit this film is that the story is really nothing to write home about. Now, I know some of you guys that are bigger Borderlands fans than I am are probably going to come in the comments and say, what are you talking about? There's amazing story and lore in these games, and maybe. I have only experienced this much of Borderlands, but for somebody that has played the entire first game, which this one is somewhat modeled after, I don't really remember that game for its story. Bunch of vault hunters are trying to find this key to get to this ancient vault because there's supposed to be this mysterious legendary treasure or something inside of it. Like, that's a very reminiscent plot of many other films that we have had. That makes that pretty cliche story stand out and seem unique, as well as the gameplay, which we're not able to experience here. The story of the film? Let me dramatize it for you. Hi, I'm Lilith. I'm a bounty hunter. I'm absolutely not a vault hunter. I have no interest in hunting for vaults or for treasure. Hi, Lilith. If you could take a break from vault hunting for a second, I'm a leader of a massive corporation and my daughter has been kidnapped by somebody that used to work for me. You want a shitload of money to go find her? Here it is. Why, yes, Mr. Atlas, sir. I will absolutely go find your daughter. By the way, I'm not a vault hunter whatsoever. I have never had an interest in hunting vaults. Hey, kid. I'm Lilith. I'm a bounty hunter. I was hired by your father to come and find you, and I have no interest whatsoever in hunting vaults. Never have. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, my dad's kind of a dick. So, you want to go hunt a vault? Sure, let's go hunt a vault. I'm playing it up for laughs, but that's the basic story. Bounty hunter gets sent to go retrieve this girl. Turns out the guy that gave her the job is a dick, and then they go and try to beat him to the treasure. It's nothing to write home about. The movie takes this big turn in the third act, which I genuinely don't remember being a part of the games, but again, I'm not an expert, so don't take it from me, but it really makes the movie feel lopsided. Like, it's fairly grounded for the most part for such a wacky world and a wacky concept, and then it really goes into the supernatural out of nowhere, and it just doesn't land. Like, it's not this cool switch, it's like, where the fuck did that come from? But above all else, and I'm genuinely shocked to say this because the one thing that I was very faithful and confident in about this movie was the casting of Jack Black for the role of Claptrap. For those that haven't played the games, Claptrap is basically the mascot of the games. He comes in here and there, he almost always says something funny because he's not there all the time. You just interact with him here and there. He's in some of the menus, but very memorable piece of the Borderlands games. He is fucking insufferable in this movie. How you write a character and make a movie that makes me hate being around Jack Black, that is an achievement in and of itself. If there's a fucking Oscar that needs to be made, it's best film that made you hate Jack Black, ironically. Give it to Borderlands because they earned the fuck out of that statue. I don't think there was a single line that was written for Jack Black that was actually funny. It is way overdone. It's a character that is good in small spurts, and he is damn near co-lead in this movie as soon as he is interacting with Lilith, and so he just randomly pops in. Like, every time something happens, he just shoots into the screen, says some stupid fucking joke, and everyone is worse than the last. And so it's, oh my god, I hated this character. Like, this is far from the worst film that I've seen this year, which says a lot more about how bad some films have been than it does how good or tolerable Borderlands is. But Jack Black's Claptrap is the worst character that I've seen on screen this calendar year. That's a tongue twister, by the way. Say that 10 times fast. Jack Black's Claptrap. I'm really hoping that we're going to start to be in this new era where video game adaptations are much better and they're taken much more seriously by the studios and the filmmakers and writers that sign on to do these projects. Obviously, this is a project that's been sitting around for a while, so this is not something that has come out post Last of Us or even Fallout, which regrettably I have not seen yet, but I've heard nothing but great things about it. So I'm not really going to hold this accountable for like this new era that I'm hoping that we're in, but for the love of God, please tell me this is the last one for a while. Please tell me that we're going to start to get some really good video game movies, or they're going to start to realize that most video games are much more appropriate for TV series like Last of Us and Fallout. I want that to be the new thing. I want the respect and the care that comic book movies began to have in the 2000s to now be the video game adaptations. It's time. It's fucking time. So all in all, guys, I didn't enjoy the film. It's not worth your money. Definitely go see Cuckoo or go watch Deadpool and Wolverine again or something else. But, you know, this is not a movie that I think is deserving of the level of hyperbolic hate that I've seen. This is not a movie that's going to ruin your life. This is not a film that's going to make you doubt the existence of cinema for the future. It's nothing like that. It's just another generic, forgettable, disappointing video game adaptation. Just throw it on the fucking pit of bodies with all the others that we've had over the last 30 years. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Be sure to get yourself some Magic Spoon down in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video and want to check out some more, I'll put a playlist of all of my 2024 new release reviews so far. I'm also going to put my review of Cuckoo, the other new release this weekend, the one that is much more deserving of your money and time. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.